Hi, welcome everybody to Interesting AF or Interesting as Fuck, depending on, how you roll. And welcome, which is essentially what we want to do today. We have we're excited. We've got quite a number of views. Some people are liking, some people are sharing. So we are super excited. And we wanted to re record our welcome. Um, as you know, we are new at this. We are doing this, you know, um, we're learning as we go. Sometimes there's echoes in the podcast. Sometimes there's little spaces because I said my real name and I have to edit it out and I didn't do it right. These types of things that we're learning and we're getting better at this. But we wanted to take some time today to reintroduce ourselves, kind of level set. And Elaine and I will go through our introductions, who we are, where we're from, because I think as we've gotten through it, we've gotten a little bit more comfortable sharing a little bit more personal details, and we wanted to just get it all together in one, as well as kind of talk a little bit about what we've learned so far doing this podcast, because I think those are always insights worth sharing. So Elaine, go first.
Ooh,
Tell us about
first.
yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Ooh,
This is
sure.
this is like a networking party in DC
Yeah.
where we live in the area. And tell me more about yourself. What do you do?
Oh God, what do I do? What a loaded question. So I have been in this area, which is the Washington, D.C. area for 20 years at this point. Went to college in this area, had a couple stints outside in the past 22 years, but 20 years as a whole in the area. Always knew this is a place I would end up because I've always been interested and involved in politics and government affairs and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So this place and American history and all that. So like this place has just always been a draw for me since like middle school when we took our first Washington, D.C. trip in school. So, been here about 20 years. I grew up in New England, I grew up in Connecticut, but I've also lived in New Hampshire and Boston. So, New England as a whole has a very special place in my heart, but don't get it confused. I am a diehard Yankees fan. I come from the part of New England that bleeds pinstripes. Our discussions are more between like the Mets and the Yankees, the Jets and the Giants than they are um, Red Sox, Yankees, any of that mumbo jumbo. So yeah, grew up north, came down here, just East Coast girl, born and raised. Though my family is out west now, uh, growing to love the Southwest quite a bit. But yeah, I still work in politics, and that's how Linda and I know each other. We've worked together for over 6 years now, and we've totally bonded over several things, but most of which, and we talk about this in an episode, is the quite possibly the most vulnerable time of a person's life, if you so choose to do this, is while I was pregnant and then postpartum. So, and our friendship, I think, really grew during that. And we came up with this idea for this podcast to basically take our experience, our life experience in doing what we do and experiencing what we've experienced to, I don't know, help folks coming out of this pandemic to reconnect with people. And then I think you and I both just love connecting with people. So came up with this idea for this great podcast that we hope everybody's loving and continues to grow, not just on connecting with people, but on interesting topics. So then if it just like happens to come up and things we find interesting and things you might find interesting, and then if you're at a networking event and it comes up, you can say, "Oh, I just listened to this podcast about this. And what do you think of this? And what do you think of that?" Or, maybe it'll help you converse better or network. We talk equally about connection and being around other people and being by yourself, which I think is important. And then we also have our illustrious The Doc is In, which is our other segment where talk about interesting. We take interesting documentaries, which is my favorite genre of movie, and we watch them. And Linda gives us a rating on her what the fuck a meter, and we discuss it. And oftentimes we try to connect it to the overall theme of interesting as fuck. But sometimes we don't because we're just also kind of here to have fun. And I love to have fun. The things I do for fun. I love to play golf, ride my bike, walk long distances. I'm a student of wine, which sounds pretentious as fuck, and I don't care. I literally have my WSET level 1 and 2 in wine, level 1 in sake. I love learning about it. I love it with a meal. I love it without a meal. Um, Live music, which we get some details and stuff in some of the documentaries we talk about. I talk about some of my live music experiences and travel, and Linda and I have a great episode about that. We even traveled together for that episode. Yeah, so that's a long-winded intro of Elaine. Linda, tell us about yourself.
So, um, yeah, so I have a little bit more of a, I guess, global view slash, US view. I've been in the US since I was 7, so quite a long time. But I've originally from a country in North Africa. I also married a European. So I have a little bit more of a like a, out of US view. And I ask Elaine, I've been here for a long time, but there's so many gaps in my knowledge about the US sometimes that Elaine is kind of my go-to person to like ask stupid questions about shit. And I'm like, do I understand this right? Because I'm not quite so sure. But essentially, I, lived in Spain, France, have traveled a lot. And, I've always loved politics. I've always loved government affairs. I've always loved the concept of how humans organize to rule each other. Because essentially, it's just a rule based system. We're trying to all figure
Mhm.
out how we connect to others, how we relate to others. And this, in a way, government is just on a larger scale. So always loved it. Have really loved like I really like think about it from a philosophy point of view as well. So poli sci major, did a lot of stuff in policy. So it's just really thinking about, how we organize and how we organize best to get everybody to kind of lift all boats, right? Because I think policy is used in different ways sometimes that, kind of just raises some boats and not all others. And I come from the view where it should raise all. And I think that's kind of the key here is how to figure that out. And yes, postpartum was a bitch. And, there is no bond stronger than when you send a parent because, we're both moms, but there are fathers out there, other parents, people doing it, as they are. There's no bond stronger than a parent sending another parent a 2 a.m. text message and that person responding right away because they're also awake.
Yep. Yep.
No bond stronger. And yeah, so that's, I had my first child like right before COVID started. So he's, we're now going through the 5 year, today is like, the week that we said, hey, we're out. And we just went to lockdown for a couple. So I'm
We
freaking out
did.
about having a child. And I, tend to have, more anxiety than most. And I was like, oh my God. And honestly, like, and then I had another child very, very quickly. And because I had some IVF struggles, so we wanted to kind of do the kids kind of close together. And that was a bitch. I having 2 children, small children in COVID, during COVID had its good sides because I could stay home with them and like work from home and all that. But also has its bad sides because we're always and so that, having Elaine to just text and be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna die. Please save me." And I think this is, coming out of that, coming out of COVID, having so many things happen in our work, work lives. I think everybody sees that politics is a very hard is a very hard. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. It's a hard to keep track. And so I think the way we kind of like thought about it is, hey, let's do something fun. Let's talk about topics that we just think are fun, because we don't just talk about politics. We talk about so many different things. We don't just talk about our kids. We don't, you are more than the sum of your experience, of the people
Mhm.
around you, of how you relate to people. And it also makes your kind of inner thoughts richer, right? You start getting more curious about things, which then opens up more opportunities, more experiences. Guys, we only have one life to live, and you better make it a good one, right? And you better like the person that you should love the most is yourself, which sounds selfish,
Amen.
but you're with yourself 100% of the day,
It's
all
not
the
selfish. It's not selfish, and I will quote Mama Ru, "If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love
time.
anybody else?" Can I get an amen?
Preach. Amen. That's right. That's right. And it's true. It's not selfish, but people see it as selfish
Yeah.
because
Oh, for sure.
the way we kind of show productivity and show that our value is intrinsic is vis-a-vis other people, and that's just not we are not a function of other people. We're a function of ourselves. And then we add things, you know, to
Yes.
do things. So I, uh, we kind of thought this up and then we did it. And I am so proud of us that we did it because we kept going, yeah, we're going to do this. And then, obviously we're busy as fuck. And but we did it. And I'm so proud of ourselves. I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of the two of us. We have 26 some episodes online. It's nuts. People are watching. It seems we're getting good feedback, but we'd love more. We're always open to new topics.
We're
Um,
also open to a production intern if anybody
yes, yes,
wants to help us.
please, please.
Poor Linda's
I
doing all the technical stuff right now, and neither one of us is proficient in it. Linda's doing great, but we need help.
no, we need professional help, and that's I kind of wanted to say that's what I've learned. I've learned that I'm not good at this.
Like, we need someone to edit out the incoming emails and calendar reminder dings and, like,
And for
crying
children
children.
screaming,
I'm sh my screen keeps lighting up right now because my husband is walking on the floor above me. Like,
you guys, we please help us. like, we're like we're not cut out for this. We're not cut out for the technical aspects of this podcast.
oh, shit.
Because like I every time you listen to a podcast, it's so like it's so well done. But like I just wanted us to get out there with like this message and kind of talking about these topics. I think people really are starving for being taught how to do this. And it's you see that in like kind of the younger generation. We're a little older and we're also like our job is to talk to people. Our job
Yeah,
is to get insights from other people, right? So I think there's a lot of things that we, have learned from that, obviously. Um, because essentially, government affairs in general is just talking to people and seeing,
yeah,
what they're thinking, how they're thinking it, and distilling it back to insights that you can, kind of utilize and improve environments, right? Improve the external environment. So but yeah, I that's basically my thing that I've learned. I've gotten better, which sounds sad, but I've gotten
absolutely.
better. We've gotten better at the technical topics. And for one have to say that the fact that we just have topics that come up all the time is just another testament to the fact that this is just such a good thought process that we had. And not to like toot our own horns or anything, but yeah, I'm gonna toot our own
Fuck
horns.
it, toot it.
Toot it. And because you sometimes see a gap and you're like, hey, we can do this, we can talk about this. And we know that there are other podcasts out there and people are choosing using their time to listen to us. So we appreciate that and thank you.
Yeah.
I did want to say the doc is just amazing. All of the documentaries that Elaine comes to me, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna like this one." Like, I'm not like, I more read. I'm, like, more of a reader. I'm reading right now, like, I'm not reading right now, but, that was a joke and it fell. But that's fine. I, shot my shot. But essentially I go in, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to watch this one. And let me tell you, watch them all. They're awesome. Like, from a person who doesn't watch things, I don't watch things. I've watched all of them and was amazed by all of them. Like, so, like, I like, my brain goes back and I'm like, oh my God, when Jack White made a guitar out of a coke bottle,
And a
or
piece of
when
wood.
and a
Well,
piece of
an
wood, and then
electric guitar. Like an
electric,
electric guitar.
yeah. And then the other one where we talked about, all the art heists and, like,
Mhm.
all that stuff. It was just amazing, amazing stuff. And, like, the conspiracy theories around, The Shining and all these
Yeah.
things. I've learned so much stuff from the documentaries. And Elaine talks about pretentiousness around wine. I'm pretentious AF when it comes to art. I will talk your ear off about art for so yeah, I am I'm a big art buff, and that's my pretentiousness. That's the pretentious I bring. Um and that's what I've learned. And I think this is great. Honestly, I love this. It's great.
Yeah,
Great times for us, honestly.
it really is. And I'm trying to think of I think the thing I've learned is how to better organize my thoughts before I say them. And that's not even in like a woke kind of way, right? Like I'm not necessarily trying to be politically correct, but I also have in my older years, which Linda and I are both straight up millennials, some might
Straight
consider
up.
us elder millennials, Oregon Trail millennials, um, if you will. That's one of my favorites is the Oregon Trail millennials.
Well, dysentery is back,
Yes.
everybody. So
Jesus fucking Christ. I can't. I can't. But in our elder geriatric Oregon Trail millennial years, just like Linda, like I think all tides should rise all boats. And the way other people live their life or the way that somebody is born, if it doesn't impact your life, then what the fuck do you care? Like, let them live and they should have the same rights as all of us. Um,
Ye- yeah, and
so yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because I saw this meme this morning, like this reel this morning. Sorry, my husband keeps saying meme when he means real, and he's infecting my brain. And there was somebody in Wisconsin that was an old man that was going up. He was
Yes.
invited to speak against a bill, and he was like, "I'm sorry for wasting your time because I looked, I educated myself, and I don't want to speak against this bill anymore." Like, it was like the way he spoke, he was like, "I just learned something that I didn't know." And the fact is I think the bravery of the fact that he
Yes.
assumed he didn't know everything, I think, is the ethos and kind of our thought process behind this podcast.
1000%.
I agree with you on organizing my thoughts. Sorry for cutting you off because I think
No,
we've gotten
no,
better
go with
about
it.
that. But,
This
like,
is
I agree
podcasting.
with
This
you.
is a
Like,
discussion.
like I have like it's we talk a lot. We're big
Yeah.
talkers, Elaine and I. And
Shocking.
which is I'm sure everybody's shocked because it's not like we haven't filled time talking to the but yeah, I agree. Like, organizing your thoughts and going, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna say? Because usually we just like freestyle. We're like, hey, but
Off the
like,
cuff.
and this is also kind of bled into other parts of my life too. Like, I'm like, how, like, what am I trying to say? What's my objective? And, it's not like I don't have things to say.
Of course.
But yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, that's why I was jumping in because I wanted to
Yeah, yeah.
say, the concept is to educate yourself and don't assume we know everything because we don't.
We don't. Well,
We're just
and we're the first people to admit that. Like we're the first people to admit like I don't know what I don't know. And my choice of I like being deliberate about my choice of words, one, because I want to be deliberate, but also I don't want to offend anyone by using the wrong term. And I think we talk about this in our comedy and the line episode, right? Where we're constantly learning and the line is ever changing. And I think the line changes faster than ever. So, we may listen back to episodes years from now and like cringe because we used a word that's no longer acceptable. And that's just know like we're trying our best and we're constantly wanting to change and we're constantly wanting to do the right thing. So I think choosing my words and my phrasing deliberately to make sure everyone feels included here, not piss anybody off unless you're someone who truly doesn't believe in someone else's rights, then get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm sorry, but just like I think we've done a good job of kind of staying away from political things, especially considering like what our line of work is, because we want to talk about other shit than that all the time. Otherwise, we will go fucking crazy. Um, but yeah, I think being deliberate about what I say, and that of course helps too in our job where we talk for a living and sometimes we have to walk a very fine line. And so I think it's helpful in being able to really catalog and think about what I want to say before we put it out there, because we're putting it out there. Like, it's one thing to have a closed door meeting. It's another thing to be saying things on a podcast that is purely opinion. Like, we are not psychologists. We are not psychiatrists. We are not, you know, professional people in terms of like the way the human brain works or how we actually connect with people, but we have enough life experience. I think that it is hopefully helpful in some of the advice that we can give, or even just topics. Like, if you find these interesting topics interesting, which is kind of the whole point. But yeah, just being deliberate and not wanting to say the wrong thing in terms of like just making sure there's always a safe space for people to come and listen. And I know we get vulnerable at some points. Well, I'm sure we'll talk even more about like we'll get into some heavier topics and really get into that stuff. And so um yeah, I think that, and then just learning to put ourselves out there a little bit, because we're not gonna make everybody happy, and we're gonna hear about it, and we're gonna have to deal with that. So
Yeah, and I don't think we haven't hit that yet, and if we do, we'll obviously have an episode about it, clearly. But,
yes.
I think also what we at least what I've come across too, is how we really connect to people, because I've learned things about, I might know things intrinsically, but then kind of to see, we talked about these articles, we've talked about, different topics, and I've learned, specific things that I didn't know about, humans and how we're organizing and how things are changing right now. I think right now we're in a huge moment of transition with all this
Yep.
AI technology, with all this, kind of world change, because we are, this is tectonic level change that's happening. So if you feel crazy, it's okay. Like,
You're not.
this has happened every time, at the turn of every, like, major thing that happened, like, Industrial Revolution, people felt the same way we do. This is where our world is ever changing. It's changing all the time, but there are sometimes these big kind of leaps that our civilization makes, kind of just as a whole. And essentially, the dichotomy is, how do we deal with this massive change that is going to ruin the world? Because AI, don't think of it like, I think people think of it negatively, but
Mhm.
it's still just a tool. It's
Right.
just a tool, like a
A
tool to
tool
help us.
invented by humans, run by humans, used by humans, right? So, like, we are still a part of it.
Yep.
Um, I also think the one caveat I'll give, though, to your point is we have more access to more information more globally and faster than ever before, which could make it a little bit scarier. You think like you're talking about the Industrial Revolution, like people only saw what was happening like around them.
Yeah.
We see all of
True.
it, and that can
All of
be overwhelming. Um, so
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I think information management, maybe we can do an episode about that, but
Oh,
information
yeah, because I
management
need help with that.
is gonna be something. I mean, the problem is, like, our jobs are also, like,
I know.
drink from a fire hose, so, like, every time something happens, we have to know, like, sometimes I turn off my news notifications because I can't, but then I miss something for work, and I'm like, "Ah!" But I think information management is super important, and it's gonna be something that we're gonna have to learn collectively as we go. Um, but I think it's a tale as old as time. How are the people in power going to ensure that the tools that we're getting now may benefit everybody else?
Right.
That's I think, and that's the key. Like the key is always, how do we make sure we improve and get better as opposed to kind of regress? And I think there's a lot of people on both sides of the line. They think we're improving. Some people think we're regressing. Um, but the trajectory is rather like on the up and up, right? Where you know, we have, you know, apart from dysentery, coming back.
And
And the
measles.
and the measles. Um, we're on the up, right? We
Yeah.
are generally on the up. So that's just something that we're gonna have to, keep working on together. And I think connecting to people and really understanding where people are coming from, um, is great. And I was having this conversation with my aunt about, how some people don't accept other people and how they live their lives or how they identify. And I go, I get it. Like they don't need to accept how other people live, but they shouldn't infringe or impose their way
Exactly.
of living on others. Like if somebody you know, has, things to say about, different, races or things like that, I don't accept what he or she is saying or what they're saying, but I don't go out of my way to go, "Hey, this person has these," like, I'm not gonna I'm like, "Don't take away this person's freedom." No, I'm gonna be like, not gonna deal with that. I don't, not gonna be around it, but I'm not gonna impose. They should be wanting to learn to
Yeah.
get beyond their prejudices. It's not our responsibility to make other people grow, I think. I think there's
Amen.
I think the internet and AI has made it feel like we're responsible for other people's opinions. Like, oh, it's you see the comment section. People are like, oh, they have this opinion. And you're like, I don't like if you don't agree, you don't need to go fight them about it all the time.
Right.
Like that's what
Just
they
because you
like.
have a computer and there's a comment section doesn't mean you need to put it there.
Doesn't mean you need to put it
But
there.
I will forever and always support your right to say it.
Yep,
I just don't have to agree with what you say, and I can change my opinion about who you are as a person by what you say.
exactly. And I don't
And
need
you
to
need
deal
to
with you.
respect my and you need to respect my right to have a problem with what you say and what you put out there.
Exactly. And the concept, if you have a problem that I have a problem, then maybe think about what you're saying. That means
Right,
you're not actually comfortable with it. Like the
right.
concept of people, I think a lot of people that hold these like very intense prejudices and they get really angry about the fact that people don't agree with them, I think is an indication that like inside they know they either don't have all the information about it, they either can't, you know, talk about don't know how to talk about it or know that it's not an appropriate thing to say. Um, and I think we talk about this in an episode where we have the art of disagreeing, um,
Mhm.
which I think is a great episode, and I think it's one of people really enjoyed that one, and people are like listening to that one. So, but yeah, I think we're in a moment of transition and we just need to be kinder to each other. We're all figuring
Yes.
out on our own. Like, people are going to say things, you're going to think, different things all the time, and you have the right to change your mind. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you a hypocrite. It makes you somebody that grows. It makes you somebody that
Yep.
goes, "Hey, I have new information and I'm going to move on." Like my dad has this great thing about analyzing political events. people have like different analysis about political events as we go. And he has this thing where he goes, we are analyzing this at T1. So T1, we have this information. At T2, our entire analysis might change because we have different information and we have different things that have happened. So he's like, your analysis of an event can change all the time. And I think that is a
Yeah.
perfect way to talk about how you grow as a person and how your opinions change because you
Yeah,
have.
I think a lot of people just have a really hard time with admitting that they were wrong, and with things like social media, it makes it a lot harder for people to wanna shatter their own self-image and say, "I was wrong." Which here's the thing, you don't have to outright say, "I was wrong," if you don't want to, but, like, acknowledge that maybe there's new information that has caused you to change your opinion, and maybe that old opinion was a very outdated way of thinking, or maybe the new opinion is an
Yeah.
outdated way of thinking, but, like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to become aware of other stances and other information and then reassess where you're at. It's perfectly okay to be wrong. We are human.
Yeah. And I just keep flashing. My brain keeps flashing to that man.
Yes.
Like from that reel. Like he only said he was sorry for wasting their time. He didn't he goes, "I became educated, and so I'm not speaking, against this again anymore." But he only said sorry. He didn't even like, he was like, "I didn't know." Like, what you don't know doesn't, I feel like what you don't know doesn't make you wrong. I think what makes you wrong is holding on to a belief so strongly that I think that the wrongness is how you deal with it rather than the opinion itself. Like, I don't know
Yes.
how, I don't know if that makes sense, and maybe I'll have to develop it a little bit more in my
No,
head.
it does make sense because I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who I disagree with who, like, I don't know, let's just take, like, the LGBTQ plus community because what the reel you're talking about is
Mhm.
a bill within that community.
Yep.
And this person was specifically reached out to by this legislature to come and support the bill, which is an anti-trans bill.
Yep.
And after hearing the other side and learning from the trans community and LGBTQ plus community, this person stood up and said, "I'm sorry, I can no longer be here to support this bill because it hurts people." And
Yep.
that's an incredible about face.
Yep.
That person could have those thoughts about the LGBTQIA plus community that differ from mine, but just kinda keep it to themselves and not necess and I'm not saying that opinion is right, but it is their opinion, and not actually, like, lambast their neighbor who might be gay or trans or, questioning. They may still, not hurt that person, and in that case, like, great, like, I don't know, just you can have your opinions, but, like you said earlier, why infringe them on other people if it makes no impact on your life whatsoever? Like,
And it hurts
fuck off.
people, and it
And
hurts people.
if it hurts people, it's wrong.
Yeah. That's I
Sorry.
think that, and that's the how, right? You're just hurting people for a numerous amounts of, like, for just reasons about yourself, I think, more than anything
Yeah.
else.
This is a big,
And it
long way to say, Linda and I don't like it when people hurt other people.
Yes, we hate it. We
I
hate
don't
it.
like it when
I
people
just don't
don't
like it at all.
they hurt other people or when you don't like people just because they don't look or sound or act exactly like you is just
And
not okay.
and I th and I think, and again, not to toot my own horn, but, like, I think sometimes, like, when you even defend people that you don't like because you hear other people hurting them, I think is really key. Like, that's how you know you're kind of, like, beyond the pettiness, even though I'm petty, really, really petty. But, like, I do it I'm petty for fun. But, like, in the bigger scheme of things, like, if people are hurting other people, you should always stand up for that, even if you don't agree, if you don't like that person, even like that's not, we shouldn't be here to hurt other people. And the
Maybe
other
and
one,
maybe
go ahead.
sorry, maybe we'll do an episode on this because, like, I agree with you, but there are times that that goes too far.
Fair. And
There
I
is
always I tend to
there
be a
is
little too
there
nice.
is a Burt Kreischer joke that we saw him in Vegas years ago. He told this joke. I had to get up and leave because I was either going to pee myself, and I was still laughing so hard that, like, I couldn't hear the next joke he was going into. And it is I'm not gonna ruin the joke. It's a long build up. It is, I think, one of the most perfect jokes I've ever heard in my life. But
Okay.
he starts by going in to the same Starbucks he goes into. He starts this rapport with the young black man barista behind the, and that is a crucial point to the story. And all I will say is the joke, I don't even want to give the punchline because it's just so
Okay.
good. But I
So now I
also
have to
want
look it up.
people, I also want people, like, I'm sure if you look up like Burt Kreischer Starbucks joke,
Okay.
I mean,
Um,
the punchline is so good that I literally use it all the time. Not all the time, but I use it with my husband sometimes. And it is the perfect example of like that defending that goes a little too far. And yes, like it's this rapport that they had. And if I heard, I'm sure if I heard Burt Kreischer say, like, or not just Burt Kreischer, but in this scenario, if I had walked into Starbucks and heard this man saying this to this guy, I would have been like, what the fuck? But the joke is just so good. And sometimes, like, but you know, people's privilege can get in the way of going too far with the defending, right? And that's where this joke kind of beautifully plays with that. But we should do an episode of that because I do actually have a crazy example of this that like none of us went too far. The woman who was in the wrong went way too far.
yeah. And
Um,
usually people who are in the wrong go a little way too far.
Yeah, so
Um,
I'm not saying that, like, it's a bad thing because I would like to defend everyone as well, like, that made that's, like, the moms in us, right? Like, the
yeah.
parents in us too, and just, like, I don't know, hopefully decent human being in us. But yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you, but sometimes it can go too far, but this joke is so I
Okay.
oh my god, it's
Okay.
so good.
I'm gonna look it up, watch it, and then,
Yeah.
maybe I should link it to this welcome. But
I also just I love Bert Kreischer, I think he's absolutely fucking
I've never
hysterical.
heard of him. So now I'm like really
Oh my gosh.
excited.
He's
I've
he's the Russian machine. Like he's the his he became famous
yeah.
because he always takes his shirt off on stage. Like now it's literally within like the first 30 seconds. He became famous because he tells this story. They've now made a fucking movie out of it, which we absolutely watched.
Oh, the
Um
machine. Yeah, yeah.
the
Now
machine.
I know him.
He,
Yeah, I've seen him
yes.
before. Yeah.
He became famous with his story from when he studied in Russia. He and his class are on a train and he essentially gets mixed up with a Mushin Rob, a Russian mob. Whoa. More coffee for Elaine, please.
Uh,
Um, my favorite English professor in college used to say, "Man, if I could talk, I'd be good at this." Um, he's the best. Uh, that you should listen to that story too because it's what put him on the map and now he's one of the biggest comedians around.
I didn't know his
But it's
name. I've
very
seen
funny.
him before.
Bert Kreischer. We've
Yeah.
seen him live 2 or 3 times. He's very funny, and I love, like, the relationship with him and his wife and his daughter. He's a girl dad, like, it's
That's
oh, this
awesome.
and, like, God, the story he tells of, like, the first time his oldest daughter got her period, I mean, it is, like, just absolutely hilarious stuff. He's so ridiculous. Anyway,
Well,
totally
yeah.
got a sidetrack,
No, no, no. Of course.
but
And I think
welcome
we
2.0. Welcome 2.0.
2.0, 2.0, which is an entire episode in of itself, even though we said, we do an episode about blended families and like chosen family, and
Later.
we'll do it later.
We'll do it later
Whatever.
because, like, we can do whatever the fuck we want. This
We
is
can
our
do it.
podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love doing whatever the fuck I want. But I do want to, like, I don't know if did I share this with you, but like I'm a big reel person and I send way too many reels to way too many people.
I watch most of them. I
And
do
one
watch
day,
most of them.
and one day I will get unfriended by most of the people that I send the reels to. But you know what? I accept this. This is my
Not
fate.
Elaine.
Not this is my fate. And thank you, Elaine, for sticking with me. But there was one where I saw that was I guess it was a reality show, and I'm sorry, I don't know the the guy the guy's name. I think he did Survivor. I think it's the Survivor guy.
Mm.
Whatever.
Oh.
The Survivor reality show. I never watched them. I should probably go. But basically they have a contestant this time that has a stutter, and he's like talking, and he's stuttering, and he's finishing a sentence, and the host goes like, "Hey, I have a question. When you're struggling, do you want help, or do you just want us to let you finish?" And I and that to me is was so powerful, because I even was like, "Oh my, I'm going to finish this sentence." And you're like, "Damn it. Like, I learned something from that 20-second thing, because I don't have those issues, that it's a disease, right? Like, stuttering is an actual like thing, right? I don't know,
Mm.
but the concept that he wanted to learn how to engage with this person, to engage with
Yeah.
this contestant. That's where we need to be. We need to be in a place of curiosity, in a place of asking questions,
That's
knowing
why
that your
I just don't
intent.
see a problem with asking people their pronouns. Like,
Yes.
if you ask people, "How do you with your name, what do you prefer to be called?" What's the fucking difference? I'm not saying you have to ask for everybody, but, like, how much pain did that cause you to just say, how can I be a better person to you?"
How can I be a better
Sorry.
person today than I was yesterday?
And to you specifically, like, what would make you the most comfortable in this situation?
Yeah.
That's all.
Because
Doesn't that wasn't hard.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's in essence kind of this podcast is we're coming from a place of curiosity. We don't know
Yes.
everything. We don't
Nope.
well, no, we pretend we know everything, but we don't. We talk with great authority. I have to say we have very commanding presences, like, and voices. Like, if you're listening to us, like, this is just our opinion, but like sometimes people I think it's fact, and we're like, no, like, this is just what we think, right? And I think coming from a place of curiosity, coming from a place of openness, and going, yeah, I might have said, T1, I might have said something yesterday, but now I have new information, and I'm going to,
Yep.
T2. And I think that's kind of what we want to bring to everybody, and want to have everybody kind of talk to us and teach us, and maybe we'll teach you something and make you laugh from time to time. But and I'll take this moment to say thank you, Elaine, for being here with me, because
Thank
hearts,
you.
hearts. You are a wonderful partner in this, a great partner,
Oh,
great host, and I love you a lot.
I love you too, Linda.
Oh,
Oh,
and we'll be mushy sometimes and corny. So there you have it.
and maybe sometimes a little tipsy. So
Hmm.
continue on with us, please.
Which I feel like are funnier episodes, but
Yeah, we need
do
to
that.
get back into the drinking part of this.
Oh,
So,
yeah, because we can't drink at this time. It is frowned upon.
no. So maybe we'll do a couple episodes later in the
Yeah,
afternoon when we can make it happy hour. So,
indeed. And with
well,
that,
this has been a happy hour for me.
yes, it'll be a happy hour for me too.
Yes.
Um, and so with that, thank you again. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. And Elaine, take us out.
Stay interesting.